it's still filling in at about a foot a day. And this is 300 feet across, don't forget. So, next. This is the cavern pressure. We graph these up every day. Every morning I get a report on this. You can see the tubing pressure, which is a measure of the pressure in the cavern itself. It declined. At this point, it was down to about 50 pounds. Today, I think it was down to 28. So that at the surface, the tubing pressure is markedly declined. Next. The fill rate curve is here. You've seen this before. We update it once a week when they tag the bottom. You can see right now it's still filling up. Next. Okay, there's a lot of stuff in the news in the last 3 or 4 days on the dome and what it looks like. Here's the best analogy that I could come up with. It's analogous to a tropical storm off the west coast of Africa, and you've got your first notification that it's out there. What do we need to do? We need to closely watch this thing, and we need to watch the situation. We need to make sure we've got the proper instrumentation in place, and we have to do the proper evaluations. Everybody's familiar with the hurricane cones and everything else that you get every hurricane season. Those are generated by computer models, just like the Itasca rock mechanics modeling is. And so the best analogy I've got is the way we manage hurricanes now. And that's how we have to manage the other caverns in the dome in terms of our evaluations. DNR, 2 weeks ago, I think, a week ago, is now requiring the immediate installation of instruments and data collection at depth so we can monitor the situation all the way from the bottom of the caverns to the ground surface. That's why you need 6,000 foot deep wells. We've actually completed our review of recent sonar surveys of all the caverns, and we've reviewed the operating pressures. Right now, the caverns are well behaved. The sonar's patterns look good. So we've got, think tropical storm off the coast of Africa. But out of caution, that's why the immediate and long-term monitoring is going to be required. Next. We're evaluating the 3D geometry. That means we've got to put these in 3D models so we can look at them in all different views and see how things relate. Our salt cavern experts are evaluating the sonar surveys for all the caverns on the west side of the dome. Rock mechanics, Itasca is doing the modeling. We talked about that. It's going on right now. And we're evaluating the seismic events. And because of the stability of all the caverns in that area, one of the reasons for the Amendment 5 order. The seismic monitoring system, we have the surface array. Itasca is now reviewing the helicorder data every day. Deep geophone well, we talked about. The Amendment 5 directives, 2 geophone wells to 6,000 feet. These will be used in a permanent long-term seismic monitoring system. This is not a short-term thing, the stability over here, folks. This is long-term. Long-term being measured in years. This is not a month's thing, this is a year's thing. And we've also talked about the imaging of the dome. Texas Brine is doing the Surface Vibe survey at the end of January. This will help the seismologists figure out what they call velocity profiles and stuff. And this is what one of the thumper trucks will look like. So if you see this running around out there on the roads, that's part of that shallow seismic survey that's planned for the end of January. Texas Brine is replacing the surface array at Itasca because there are seismology experts. Is providing technical input and review of the array. Nanometrics is the company that's replacing the surface array. And it's being upgraded under the direction of Dr. Julie Shimada. She is an honest microseismologist, okay? You can trust her and you can trust Nanometrics. Ongoing seismic data analysis will be done by Nanometrics and Dr. Shimada under a Texas brine contract. And Surrey and USGS are involved, and they're going to have access to the data. What their future involvement is has not been worked out. But right now, we're putting experts looking at this data as accumulation comes in. So hopefully we can respond faster to events and give you more ideas of what all the seismic events mean. The deep boreholes we've talked about, there's one on the west side, one on the east side, and the shallow array down here. We want the geophone 1 in first. We need to get it in the salt so we can get ears into the salt now so we can monitor not just Oxy 3, but all the caverns around it. Geophone 2 is over here. That's going at depth. That has to be cored. We're going to do sidewall cores. We're going to do repeat formation tests, which means we're actually going to get fluid samples of oil and gas at depth. And we're going to do what's called sidewall coring. So once we identify key horizons, they'll go down with a tool and actually flip sideways and cores into the side of the borehole. So we get physical rock samples from depth. And lastly, we've talked these boreholes need to be used for the deep vertical seismic profiling of cross-hole tomography. The reason it doesn't do us any good to order the start of this one at the same time as this one, this takes a little bit of time to put together. There's a lot of data have to be collected on this borehole. It's got to be done right. It's going to take some time to get all the contracts in place and get the drill plan put together. I wish we could start tomorrow. We're talking deep oil and gas type thing. It's going to take a little bit of time. But the one into the salt, we know where it's going. We know how it has to be completed. So that one's ordered to start in the middle of January. Just so you know, when we talk geophones and stuff, these are mysterious things. People don't know what they are. This is what one of them looks like. It's got all these electronic things on the inside that go with this, but this is what they look like. And they'll put those in, and if it's a permanent system, they'll cement them in. If it's a temporary system, they actually clamp them against the wall so we can hear it. But this is what, when you talk at geophone, this is what they look like. And there may be one of these in a well, there may be 20 or 30 of them in a well. Depends how it's designed. Okay. This is where we're at. I wish it wasn't this way. Ventilation of enclosed spaces and methane monitors we talked about. Right now, I think it's going to be difficult to get folks back in their homes while there's still this uncertainty about the volume of the voids in the collapse zone.
Can you please tell that to Texas Brown? Talk to him. They didn't know how serious this is.
Okay, but I'm telling you, until we know what those voids look like, I cannot recommend to the parish that we put people back in their homes. The reason is, if we've got a large void space down there, we know we've got certain void spaces because we see it in the sinkhole. If there's a large void space down there and that gas were to come to the surface in a rapid manner, it could be hazardous. So these are the criteria. Wish it wasn't this way, but I got to tell you the facts as I see them, folks. That's where we're at. We talked about the ongoing stability analysis. Itasca is not waiting for the boreholes. We're not waiting for site data. We're doing the best we can so we can start getting some preliminary pictures. But the big issue is the voids in the collapse zone. I don't want to get that wrong.
When are we going to know about those void spaces?
when they do the cross-hole tomography or the vertical seismic. And that's next year.
January, February.
We gotta get both boreholes in, sorry. Okay?
How long does it take to get both boreholes?
They're probably looking at 2 months drilling time, maybe longer. Haven't seen the drill plan.
Is it safe to say that really you probably will get any of this stuff down back to mid-year, next year?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's 2 months for each well,
He said yes,
Yes.
if I can get the sizing down at least 6 months, mid next year. That's what he's saying.
We're not blaming him. No, we're not blaming him.
Let me wrap it up.
Yeah, I mean, somebody needs to tell him.
Folks, these are my kids and grandkids, every one of them, including the one up here who hasn't been born.
We got them too, and we're not gonna have our Christmas that we've had for the last 30 years in our house, for the first time in 30 years. Can you say that at your house? Our children and their families lose our home.
I said it's wrong. Get him to say it up.
Ma'am?
Yeah, the man in the orange shirt, that's the man I'm talking to.
Ma'am, I am not in your position, but I am here, I'm trying to be as straight as I can be, and I understand the emotion. I do not talk to my kids or grandkids without them asking about the folks in this room. Okay? I know, but I'm telling you that we understand. We get it. All I can tell you,
First, we appreciate that. That's what we want to hear. But we want them to understand, not you. You understanding how we feel does us no good. Texas, Brian needs to understand how we feel.
okay, Marty, do we want to take questions now?
Yeah, that's a good question, but that's a good point. The point is, you know, it's come to a time, we hear it now. I'm glad that Hecox is doing what he's doing. I'm glad that's he's giving you straight answers. He's giving you time frame that are realistic. He's saying 6 months before these geophones are in place, where they can start gathering data. It's time, and that's why one of the meetings we put a resolution to request Texas Brian, urging Texas Brian. You know, some of the people want to stay and want to remain there, and we're willing to fight and keep the pressure on to make sure that Viacom is restored to what it was. But they have some people that want to move on. I understand. You have some that want to move on. Some that want to try to restart their lives in a different location. They don't feel safe. So we'd ask you to start meeting with these people. Meeting with them to try to address their financial concerns. If they want to relocate, fine. For those that want to stay, we are committed to working with these folks to make sure Viacom is restored. The fact that we requested you to meet with these individuals that want to relocate doesn't mean we don't want to see Viacom restored and brought to a safe place, and those people that do stay, that they're not compensated for what they need to do. But we need, these people can't be stuck in limbo for months and years just waiting to see what's going to turn out. The good corporate neighborly thing to do would be meet with them, their representatives, and discuss various options. But and that's my suggestion. That's our goal, and that's our request. Somebody's got to bring that message to Houston. You know, you can continue to play the defensive role, but everything we see, your cabin is collapsed. Your cabin is an integral part of what's going on. Please step up and start addressing these people's needs. Eric?